Hello, welcome back to the podcast with me, Marley darling. Today we're going to talk about a really exciting topic, the most overlooked way to feel regulated and energized and actually enjoy your life. Now, this thing isn't spoken about, and I think it should be. As you know, I'm all about making regulation fun, using it as a way to feel better and therefore function better. And this episode's all about that. But before we dive into that, let's talk about the little big thing. And I'd written down one thing, but then I just thought of another thing I want to say as well. So there's going to be a couple that are all along similar line. They're about noticing the choice point, right? That choice point is that moment when you are making a decision, and sometimes it just happens automatically and we don't even notice it. But sometimes we can harness that and go, okay, well, what do I want to do here? Do I want to do the automatic response, or do I want to change my habit? Do I want to step outside my comfort zone? So I did that the other night. I have been wanting to shoot hoops with my daughter outside because I got a basketball hoop for Christmas and we haven't used it as much as I'd like. But when we have used it, it's been super fun. It can be any length of time and you just get outside and it's a way to connect and it gives us a chance to talk and it's a great way to regulate. And the other night I thought, how am I going to fit this in? Because I've kind of wanted to do it before dinner because after dinner can be a little bit chaotic, but before dinner is also chaotic because I have to get dinner started and there's no kind of trigger point to say, okay, well, this is when you do it and get started. So then I thought, well, maybe after dinner, but sometimes I'm a bit full or the kids are doing stuff or we're ready for bed. But the other day we had dinner and then my kids went off and were reading. And then right before that transition to get them ready for bed and move them down the hallway, down to the bathroom, brushing their teeth and all of that, to get my daughter out of the lounge room, I said, hey, would you come outside? I'm gonna go outside. So it's already happening. I'm going outside to shoot 3 hoops. Do you want to come with me? Rather than asking her whether it should happen at all or not. That was a little way to reduce the demand and the amount of questioning she would have to do for herself. So I'm going to go outside and do this. Yep, she definitely wanted to come outside, but she wanted to play her version, which is called stickball, where she'll stand in front of the hoop with a big stick and act like a goalie trying to stop the ball getting in. And I said, okay, well, that's going to take a little bit longer than I planned because I want to get 3 hoops in. I want to get 3 shots in. But with the stick, it might take longer. So I set a 5-minute timer and I ended up, I think I just managed to do it within those 5 minutes. And it was really fun. And then I gave us another 5 minutes actually for her to have a turn. Excuse me, I've got a bit of hay fever. So if I'm a bit sniffly or if you're watching the video and my face is kind of scrunching up a bit, that's why. So that was really great, and I was glad that we got to do that, and I was a little bit worried that it would dysregulate her and make bedtime take longer, and it did mean bedtime was pushed back a bit, but really that was because I let her read in the lounge room for so long, and even if my kids read after dinner, they want to read in bed as well, so that's about getting that transition happening smoother. And I do think that getting her outside like that does help her wind down and regulate, so I'll have to try and incorporate that a little bit more, because it's really nice. It's just a really nice way to connect. So that was the one I had written down, and that's taken me a few minutes to say it. But I also want to say that I had an opportunity last week to jump off a big rock into the water, into the ocean. And I got up there and it was probably 3 meters. And I've done this before with like maybe 5 meters at an inflatable water park. And when I did it there, I had to do it because I climbed up on this big cube and I'm kind of scared of heights, and I realized that I really didn't want to climb down. So the best option would be to jump down, and it took a bit of pressuring myself. I don't know if you've ever done something like this, but your whole body is telling you, no, don't do it. That's really dangerous. Don't do that. So I had to kind of throw myself off the edge after like several attempts and some swearing, I've got to be honest. And then falling down from there, it was like everything went black. I'm like, I'm going to die. Like the feeling of falling is crazy. And then I didn't because I hit the water and I had a life jacket and everything on. And that was a really interesting experience, like the adrenaline, the exhilaration, that moment of, oh my God, I'm going to die. Even though you know you're not, your whole body's telling you that. So I've done that once before, and on this rock last week, I wanted to give it a go. I thought, well, look, this isn't as high as that, and I know the water's going to catch me. But I had a few practical concerns. I was thinking about the water below and how it would feel to hit it. I was thinking about that feeling of falling and do I actually want that? I was thinking about how far it would be to swim out of the water because I'm not a strong swimmer. And as you might know, if you've been following the podcast, I got caught in a rip. It wasn't actually so much a rip. It was more like a undertow. It was a rip that was starting to form. So I was getting dunked under the wave over and over and I was stuck there, which was not fun. So I've actually only been in the ocean swimming twice since then, which isn't very much at all. Hang on a sec. So I was thinking about all these practical considerations and I thought, you know what? I know this is safe. I've done it before. I've been in this exact water swimming 2 days ago and it was really nice. I know the water will catch me and it will probably feel like a cushion. Like rather than focusing on the falling, focusing on that being caught. But the thing that tripped me up is the rock itself was curved. And I couldn't go as close to the edge as I wanted to. I wanted to move forward, but when I moved forward, my feet were on an angle and that felt dangerous. Like I could slip and just hit the back of my head or something. So I tried a couple times and I analyzed all that. And I thought, am I going to regret it if I don't do this? How much pressure have I put myself on this? How disappointed will I be if I don't jump in? Will I feel like I've chickened out? But I made the decision, no, I don't want to do it because that feeling of the tilted rock is not sitting well with me and I'm actually doubting my ability rather than doubting the confidence to make myself do it. I don't like that feeling of making yourself do it and the feeling of jumping off and falling through the air, which possibly was another factor, but also made me think, well, do I actually want to do it? Is there any part of me that actually wants to do this and wants this experience? And I think I would have liked the feeling of jumping off perhaps, but I decided to just leave it for another time, leave it for a time that I didn't have quite so many factors to think about. And I didn't do it. And the only thing I regretted was that I didn't get time to swim that day because I'd gone and stood on the rock and thought about that for, maybe 20 minutes or something like that. And we weren't at the beach for that long. So I would have liked to spend more time in the water because it had been so nice there swimming a couple of days before. And there were schools of fish and the ground there in the water was just sand. Whereas where I live, there's a lot of like rocks and seaweed and stuff like that. So that's the only thing I regretted. I don't regret not jumping off the rock as much as I do like to push myself in certain ways sometimes. Which brings me to the next part of what I'm saying. This is a really long little big thing. But this week we went to a bike park. I wanted to check it out. I wanted to meet some new people. I wanted to give my daughter an opportunity to do it. I've got a sporty kid who likes to try things and she's adventurous. So we went and did that. And my plan was to just have a go of the pump track and just check it out, see what everyone else is doing. And my friend who goes to this group said to me that there's an easy track with some small jumps that we could try. And I said, look, I've barely ridden my bike in years, so I just kind of want to give it a go. And actually 3 months ago, I fell off the bike because I stopped too quickly on gravel and I got gravel rash and I felt very sorry for myself. So I'm a little bit wary on gravel now. But we rode up to check it out and my daughter, one of them, wanted to try it out and go slowly. And I thought, well, we could probably go slow. And she ended up going with my friend because my other daughter did not want to go on that track and she wanted me to guide her back with her on the flat track. So I had to do that. And then I really actually wanted to try the small jumps because I'd gone up the first one before my other daughter asked me to go back. And I realized you can just kind of take it slow with the brakes. So I did it. I went back up with my younger daughter and we went on this track. And like I said, I'm kind of wary of gravel. So I was pulsing the brakes to keep myself slow enough. But I think by putting the brakes on suddenly, I think that avoids me falling off the bike, hopefully. And I went along this track and the jumps were bigger than I thought I could handle. And I wasn't actually doing jumps on them, but I realized that you can just go slow and it's really fun to go up them and then go down and you're building up this momentum. And if I wasn't pulsing those brakes, I would have built up a lot of speed and that part's kind of scary. But this is an example of how you can push yourself in ways that you feel ready for. Like neither of the scenarios there are comfortable, but I felt ready to try the bike jumps and not ready to jump off the rock. But both those things put me outside my comfort zone, built new neural networks, increased my self-esteem, showed me that I can do new things, showed me that I can do hard things, showed me that I can do things that initially seem daunting. But you don't have to push yourself so far that you actually feel unsafe trying the thing. You could just push your comfort zone just a little bit. So that was great. And I'll do some more bike jumps again. And I'm going to get some bike gloves because that's sensible and can help prevent gravel rash, I think. And that's an example of how you can mitigate risk a bit and be sensible and do things that can help support you in doing the thing that you want to do. So that's a little big thing. Now, I better get into the podcast episode because that just took 10 whole minutes. Let's get into it. Okay, so the most overlooked way to feel regulated and energized in your life and actually enjoy it is pursuing a passion. This could be a hobby, it could be a project, it could be your higher purpose, it could be a business, it could be writing a book, it could be a creative pursuit. But in any way that you're pursuing a passion, you are supporting your neurodivergent brain. And here are the 8 ways that you're doing that. Number 1. Hang on. Energizes, we'll get to how. Okay. It energizes you instead of drains you. And I've written, we'll get to talking about how in a minute. But so many ways to regulate feel like work. They feel like strategies. They feel like chores. They feel like things you have to do as a means to an end. But as you know, I'm all about finding fun ways to regulate, ways to like curate your life that naturally support your dopamine and your functioning. Because when you feel better, you function better. So instead of like doing things we don't want to do to make ourselves feel better, we can just make ourselves feel better in the first place. So it doesn't drain you in the same way. It doesn't feel like hard work. You can be pulled towards it. You can do a fun thing and that can regulate you. And that's amazing. And more people should be talking about this. Follow your passion, do fun things. And it also gives you energy. A lot of things take energy to do. You've got to force yourself to do them. You've got to find the motivation. You've got to choose and have willpower. But pursuing your passion not only is easier in the first place, but it energizes you. You feel fueled by it. It gives you healthy dopamine because you're taking actions and having outcomes. It's a good amount of dopamine because when we go for easy dopamine, you're getting little squirts of dopamine in your brain rather than a good, healthy, sustainable amount. And when we take actions, when we create things, when we do things and see the outcome, that's when dopamine is created. And the more effort you put in, the more dopamine you get out. So when you're physically creating something, when you're creating a finished product, or when you are, creating something, but if you're writing something or imagining something up or creating a digital product or building something, whatever your passion might be, even if it's like going and doing bike jumps, you feel a sense of completion afterwards and you get a really healthy amount of dopamine. Third thing is that overthinking brains need a focus. When you pursue your passion, it can be so absorbing that it relaxes your brain. It lets go of stresses and worries of things that don't actually matter. It streamlines your attention into the thing that you're doing rather than letting you overthink about all the different things. It also can help with, I'm probably going to talk about self-esteem later, but seeing that, I can't talk about that, I'm going to get distracted. Anyway, that's the third thing, is that your brain can overthink so much, but if you give it something to focus on, it's such a good way to relax your brain. So for example, when I'm doing this podcast, all I'm thinking about is this podcast. When I'm writing, all I'm thinking about is writing. If I'm drawing and doing art, it's absorbing, and I stop overthinking little things in my life. I stop thinking what I'm doing right, what I'm doing wrong, how I can change things, what projects I can do, what should I change in my business, how I should redecorate my house, if my kids are eating well enough, all the things. There are so many things to think about, but when you are absorbed in your passion, all of that can melt away. Number 4, it's something to go back to when you're bored. So instead of picking up your phone and scrolling, like one hack I like to do is have a book on the go so I can pick that up instead of my phone. But having a passion that you can do when you're bored, instead of searching around for just something to fill that void, you already know what you're going to go back to because you have this hobby, you have this passion. And then number 5, I think it's number 5, I should have numbered them here. Seeing the progress of that increases your self-esteem. So you can go back to this project over and over again, and then seeing the progress of it, you're getting that dopamine on an ongoing basis, and it increases that self-esteem because you're seeing that you can be consistent. You're seeing that you can follow through. You're seeing that you can build upon something. You see your skills increase. You see like a collection of something forming if it's a physical thing you're creating. Number 6 is that satisfaction of completion, of seeing something done, whatever it may be. If it's a picture, if it's, like I said, going on the bike jumps and you do a full track, or maybe you do a yoga class and you do the whole class. Maybe you learn a new dance move. Maybe you are doing punch needling, which is something my kids are learning and I want to learn as well. Maybe it's writing a story. Maybe it's recording an audio. Maybe it's whatever it may be. Like the sense of having something done, of completing something, is really good for that dopamine, and it's really good for that self-esteem, that you can see that you can create stuff, you can put things into the world. And I love having them finished, and I recommend having a way to make them feel complete. Like if you have an artwork, maybe you can display it up on the wall. If you are creating an audio, maybe you can put it up on YouTube or something like that. I know once I put things on YouTube, it just feels complete. It feels like it's actually a thing out there in the world rather than just a thing in my brain. So whatever it might be, that sense of completion, whether or not you go to the next level and have it on display somewhere, can feel so good and does give you that dopamine and that self-esteem. Number 6, momentum creates motivation. They say that neurodivergent people struggle with motivation, but the thing is, when we talk about motivation, we're expecting this feeling of being pushed towards doing something. Like we'll have this willpower or this drive to do things that we don't want to do. But actually what happens is when you're doing something, it creates momentum, and that momentum, that feeling of momentum, is that feeling of motivation, because it's easy to go back to, because you are being pulled back to it, because you just get this sense of momentum. Okay, just trust me, when you're doing something regularly, it starts to take on an energy of its own, and it's easy to go back to. It's easy to keep going. And when you have that feeling, when you're getting all this dopamine from having something done, when you're getting this feeling of momentum from making progress, when you're getting this sense of self-esteem and self-trust, you feel more motivation all around, because motivation is controlled by dopamine. And when you've got more dopamine in your life, you feel more capable. Also, I've spoken about when you feel better, you function better, because your prefrontal cortex, when it's stressed, it controls, your prefrontal cortex controls executive functioning, and when you're stressed, your prefrontal cortex doesn't function as well. So if you're stressed, you won't function as well. If you're less stressed, your capacity naturally increases. So if you're doing things that make you feel less stressed, like pursuing a passion, that alone will help you feel better and function better. But if you then feel even better by getting dopamine by doing things, your functioning will increase. And like I've said before, all boats rise with the tide. So your functioning, if it can increase, if your dopamine is increasing, you will function better all round in your life. And this is like the beautiful secret of neurodivergent functioning, is people are trying to find all these little band-aid strategies for everything. But if you just feel better, you will function better. And you can do it through fun ways like pursuing a passion. It's super fun. It's super healthy. It might even lead to something bigger in your life. Like you might want to pursue a passion that becomes your career, that becomes a business. And you don't have to. Not everything needs to be a business, and that's an important lesson for ADHDers as well. But it could. So that's about momentum and motivation. What number was that? I think that was actually number 7, if I've counted right. And then number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. Number 8, some passions are, well, these are just added bonuses, okay? Some passions are visually pretty. So you could have like dopamine decor from things you've created, or just that sense of having something done like an artwork or some punch needling or making a rug, whatever it might be. You get that added level of dopamine and satisfaction because it's visually pretty. Some passions are social, so you might end up going to a group, you might meet new people, or your passion might be a good talking point. It might be something easy to chat with people about, and it lights you up, and people love to see people who are happy and lit up. People love to hear about other people's passions, or at least I know I do. So it creates that talking point. It makes it easier to connect with other people socially and find like-minded people as well. Some passions are physically regulating. So, for example, when I'm creating audios, especially when I'm channeling audios, like my kids' meditations particularly, I'm so in flow. It's flow state. Hang on, wait. I've written too many notes for this one. When I'm in flow creating those meditations, I close my eyes, I imagine I go to a whole other world, and like there is no stress in me because it's absorbing me so much. I'm in that flow state, I'm in that other world, I'm not overthinking, I'm not analytical, I'm not stressed, I'm just thinking about that. I'm just in that flow state. What have I said? Oh, and for me, that also gives me that visual satisfaction as well, because I have this imaginary world called Elvaria, and it's a really nice place to be. All the people are positive and kind and supportive of each other. So it feels really lovely to be there. But other passions you might have that are physically regulating could be doing yoga or doing some form of exercise, doing punch needling, which, by the way, it's like embroidery, but different, or doing art, or whatever it might be. It can regulate your body when you are overthinking less and stressing less, and it's putting you into that flow state. So that can be really good for you. And the other added bonus is seeing other people enjoy your creation is such a satisfying feeling. Whatever your passion is, if you are putting it into the world and people are seeing it, it can feel really, really good to share that. If even one person appreciates the thing you've created, that feeling is like the best feeling in the world. So those are the 8 ways, and I actually ran through them pretty quickly, so this podcast episode isn't going to be too long. Those are the 8 ways that pursuing your passion is a great way to support the neurodivergent brain, and it is the most overlooked way to feel regulated in your life and to get energized and to actually enjoy your life. Like, bring your passion into your life more often. And if it has this added bonus, like, I think we go about things backwards. We think, oh, I better like regulate myself and find all these strategies and manage my neurodivergent brain so I can function better, and then I can pursue all the things that I want to pursue in life. And that can be true in a way, but if we do it the other way and just start pursuing our passions to our capacity and let ourselves have fun and let ourselves get dopamine and let ourselves get all these added bonuses like the self-esteem, the momentum, the motivation, the social feedback, the reduction of overthinking, like all of these things are so good for you, and you can do them by pursuing your passion. To me, this is just the wildest, best thing. Like I said, it's the most overlooked way to regulate. It's so underrated. I don't know why this isn't being encouraged. Like, find something that you're passionate about. It doesn't have to be the biggest passion in the world. It just has to feel good. Follow your hobbies, and if it can be a hobby that you can go back to, all the better. I know that the classic thing with ADHD brain is that squirreling, right? And going through different hobbies, and that can be fun, but you might actually find something that you do want to stick with, or a few hobbies that you can rotate and then come back to, so that you can make progress and feel kind of balanced and steady, rather than having 1,000 different projects. It can feel really good if you just have a few things that you go back to. And if you can find something that you're keen on that has different expressions, like if you got into crochet, you could, you know, do granny squares, but you could also crochet an octopus or beanies. And if there's those different expressions, that's a way to bring in that novelty and that change and that difference, while still pursuing the same skill and building upon it, and having that sense of like a through line, like consistency through your life. Or if you have a business that you're creating, you could do little side projects, like maybe you want to write an ebook, or maybe you want to record some audios, but it's not what you want to do long term. It's just something as a little added bonus to support your main project. Or like with my Alvaria meditations, if I do some drawing or painting, I could be drawing or painting scenes from Alvaria, just to kind of explore that and have a little bit of streamlining, I guess, and just to be thinking about the same thing. And if I wanted to paint different things, I could as well, but you know, painting's just a little side hobby I like to do occasionally. So anyway, I highly, highly recommend it, and I would love to hear what your passions are. If you want to connect with me on social media, I'm at Marley Darling. I think there's a dot. I think it's Marley.darling. You'll find me. If you're watching the video, you know what my face looks like. If you are listening to the podcast, remember that you can go on YouTube and see me sitting in my bedroom with my lovely new dresser that I love. I think I was about to sneeze, but I'm not. I'll save that for after. The last thing to say is what I'm letting go of and what I'm letting in. And at the moment, what I'm letting go of is related to my kids. It's over-explaining, over-arguing, and getting into a back and forth, because that's happening a bit lately with my tween, a bit every day. And I'm trying to have patience. And I need to do something differently, because so as much as I would like to my daughter to try and stop picking fights with me, I need to find a way to address it differently. Because if you do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always gotten. But if you have a different input, you'll have a different output. So I've got to work on some regulation with her. And I think what I'll focus on first is connection inspires cooperation. Connection inspires cooperation. So I'll focus on doing some connection with her. And I asked her this morning, like, are you happy with us arguing every day? Like, it's small arguments, but I just wish it wasn't every day. And she said, well, no, it'd be nicer if we didn't. So if I can get on that level with her and go, okay, well, let's just both try, because I've said to her, I don't have all the patience in the world. I have a good amount, but I don't have all of it. So we'll work together on that, and I'm going to try and change how I communicate with her when it's happening, because it's too easy to get in this back and forth with kids. And I find that if you express yourself with eye language, or you just set a boundary and say, this is what's happening, and just repeat the same thing, eventually they'll get it. But if you get into this, like, well, why this, why that, and explaining yourself, it gives them reason to argue, and arguments aren't fun. So that's what I'm letting go of. I'm letting go of that. And I'm letting in peace, keeping my peace. I'm learning, I'm growing, I do so much better than I used to, because of all these ways that stretch me. So I'm going to find that peace and keep that peace. And I'm going to let in more time in nature for us all to regulate. We went and sat down by a river yesterday just for a brief time, and oh my God, when you get like that peaceful nature, because we go to the beach and stuff, but beach can be a bit different. Beach can be like this busy energy, but sitting in the forest or near a river, that was nice. And just the kids, they calmed down as well. We just sat there for a snack. They calmed down and said, oh, I might go for a little wander. Like there's things to explore at rivers. And I can't wait to do more bushwalks as well. A lot of the bushwalks that we do have water near them. I think water's a really calming force. So that's what I'm letting in, is more nature and outdoor time, and that should help with the letting go of as well. So good luck following your passions. Again, you could reach out or you can tag me on social media as well. That would be super cool. I'd love to see who's listening and what you're up to in your own lives. And I will chat to you next week on the podcast. Have a lovely week. Bye.